see there are Twilio, bin, functions, and so on. So for the demo purpose, I'm just going to use the Twilio bin. But before I can select this one, I will just go to create a simple Tremolo bin first. So to do that, I'll just go to the Tremolo bin, and I'll just quickly create one service here. Maybe I call it CITYJS. All right. So this is an XML format of. No, my screen is okay. I think it's a. Apologize for that. Yeah. Technical issue. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? All right, okay. All right. So the way we compose this, maybe I'll just type in response and response. Right. Basically, this tells that the service that I'm going to respond to the incoming message or voice. So for the demo purpose, for message, I'll just type message, but I'm just going to say something. Eh? All right. So I'm just going to save this, and then I'll go back to the number that I have just acquired. Active number. Yep, this is the one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and let's try out the voice instead of message, because I said say. So for this, I will select JS, CITYJS. Save. So I'm going to try this. You can try this out as well. So to do that, you just need to dial this number. Yep. So what I'm going to do is to dial the number. One, 2, 5, 6, 7, 3, 3. Feel free to try it out, please. Yeah, so it works, yeah? So that is a very quick demo to show you how quick it is to just get a number and configure that number to do the things you want to do. Send SMS, receive voice, and there are a lot of things can be done here. I'm not going through everything here. So what I'm going to show you now is the demo scenario that I have just explained, which is this one. I'm going to show you this one as well. So for this demo, yeah, sorry, any questions from the room? All right. The response that I have typed in, yeah. So the response, I tell the system that to read out the message I type, right? If I type message, then it will reply as a message. All right, so I'm going to show you this demo now. Before I show that, again, I'm going to show you that service is actually built on AWS DEX. So AWS DEX, there is a channel integration. So for this bot service, in the bot, the channel here, I said I want to use Twilio SMS, right? And that will give me the URL. So once I have the URL, what I'll do is I go to the number I want to config for that bot, yeah? So for that particular demo, I'm actually hooked it up to one of the numbers that I have here. I think it's this one, this number. So as you can see, whenever there is a message come in, it will link to this chat box in AWS, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen so you can see how I interact with the bot. Oops. This is no good. Yes, yes, I. Where is it? Yeah. Where is my sources? This one.
Or, Michael, do you think we can do standard, go an HDMI straight into it? Eventually rip it off the CD.
You have a moment? Let me see what I can do.
Yeah. So that's what we were was like, yeah, if you have an HDMI, we'll just go straight out from there.
Let's go. Hang on. Could you try maybe switch over to this? Sorry about that.
No, but I think the screen.
Now it's not, can you hear me? It's more, can you see my
Can you see my screen?
Back in the video. It's the same thing.
Okay, I think we can proceed. Yeah.
Isn't actually connected. It's not? Well, we could try.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll get together later.
What was number again? 240. No, this is a different number. Different number. 240. This one.
Show us your city map, Coach.
So this is what I type in. I type, hi, I would like to order some food. Right. So this actually reach out to the AWS dashboard. Yep. And the channel is Twilio SMS. So the bot actually having a conversation, or we interacting with the chatbot. So it's asking me the options of pizza, burger, and so on. So what I'm going to do is, I'm being lazy, I just type burger. So the bot will then reply to me with options of burgers. Yeah. So there are beef burger, spicy burger, and so on. So I said, okay, maybe I'll go for a beef burger. All right. And the bot would ask, oh, do you want to go with a meal set, that comes with fries and drinks, or you want to go a la carte? So I'll select drink, or no, meal that comes with the fries. Right. And then once the bot get my message and asking me to confirm, and I say yes, and this actually triggers the Lambda serverless function, and the functions calls the Twilio API, send a message to the queue, and other services pick that up, and then waiting for the order to be ready and send an SMS out. So the SMS I think was sent out, right? It was too fast. So for the demo, I actually fake it like, without waiting for the order, you will just send out the message. So this is the sample applications that I have for that demo, for that particular applications. Right. So the challenge is this. The previous scenario, I was actually using Redis, and I'm using 2 containers hosted in the US Kamatera cloud. So meaning I'm adding more containers, and I'm having the challenge to manage these services. I'm having the challenge to need to think of how to scale my applications and so on. But there are messages services where you don't need to do all these things, like provided by AWS, by Twilio, and by other services. So what I'm going to show you now is how to make use of a Twilio sync to do the same thing without the concern to set up your own message queue, right? So I'm going to do some coding, and I seldom do coding for this Twilio sync. So I got a little note to help me to explain what I'm going to type in here, and help me with some of the pseudo code I have here as well. I hope you don't mind. But that's what I do. I just spread this today actually, so I hope it works. So since we are all JavaScript lover, so we use Node.js. Oops. So what I'm going to do in my environment, I have set up my environment with the library that I need, which is Twilio and Twilio Sync Service. These are the two libraries you need. So you just do npm install, and you got that done, ready. And now I'm going to create a new file called my client. So this client, oops. Again. Yeah, this is so annoying. You got a long cable? Okay. Maybe I don't want to do this again. I know after I continue, then it will disconnect again. So maybe we should wait, to use the wired instead of a wireless.
Where's HDMI? One? Okay, now we just gotta. While you guys are waiting, if anybody wants to help themselves and get that, okay, how do we? How do we switch the? Is there?
Yeah. This is very challenging. I never have this type of issue before. That's the thing with technology sometimes.
Yeah, input. Yeah! Thank you, Michael. Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Okay, but okay.
Get back in here, come on.
Quick, get your beer. We're back.
I can't wait to share.
So much better, oh my god. All right, and the HDMI cable is sponsored by Engineers SG. Oh god. So let's just watch out. Alrighty. Oh, that looks so much better.
We all good to go?
You're welcome to come in the room. Yeah. Okay. All yours.
Thank you. So the first thing I wanted to do to use the sync, I need to record the library that I have showed you just now. So to do that, I got some secrets or password or keys here I'm not showing. So in my environment, so I'm using the environment variable here, right? So to do the first thing is I'm going to get my sync client ready. Right. Right, so that would be Twilio sync. Going to get a client. Right. We all can see, right? Okay. The next thing is I'm going to use the sync client. Okay, to connect to the sync client, I'll need the JWT token. And then some options, parameters or configurations. So for the demo purpose, I'll just set this as info. So once I have the sync client ready, the next thing I can do is I can call the sync client. So the sync services, they are different content. So if I bring you back to the Twilio console under the sync, I have actually added a service here. And if I go in to inspect the service here, you will see under the service, there are documents, which is single document objects, document this object, a map, which is key value mapping, and so on. So for demo purpose, I'm going to use the list. So again, I have created the list here for the purpose as well. So then, now back to this, I'm going to call this, and I need the list ID here. Right. So once we connect to this, we will right. Once I got the list connected to the list, I can now listen to the list. So that's how I subscribe to the list. So to do that, I will use the list object here. And now I can listen to the list for item added. So events that we can listen to, item added or item updated. So whenever the item added, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the item, and then I can do something with the item. So for the demo purpose, we're just going to do something simple. I'm just going to display the data. The item return will be in JSON format, so I will use JSON stringify. Descriptor data. That will get the data of the item for me. Right, that's simple. But you realize that we don't have the token yet. This is the tedious part actually. This is where I need the node for. So to do the token, I will need a few steps. The first thing is I will need to define the token. So I will set a constants. Access token. So this is the one. The moment I select, it will auto import the relevant library for me. So now with the token, I will need to set some parameters for that. So this is where I keep in the environment variable. The first thing I need is the Twilio account SID process Twilio API key SID, and the next one will be the Twilio key secret. So this is what I need for the token. Right.
Line number 9 each.
I think you might want to show us your end plan now.
Line number 9,
Right. Okay, what am I going to do with token now? I can add a grant for that. So I will need the sync grant. So the sync grant is actually to get it from the access token, if not mistaken. Access tokens. I have a sync grant. Right, access token. I have a sync grant. All right, I tell you what, I got a backup code for this. Instead of trying to recall my code here, I think I have the backup code here. No, the reason I need to do live code so that I can explain line by line to you. Yeah, here. Okay, so this is what we get, right? Okay, I'll just copy the whole thing. Sync client. All right, after I got the token, I convert the token to JWT, and this is what I need. And then the sync client, I already got it here. So this is the sync client. Yeah, thanks. Okay, let me double check what else I missed, yeah? I think we are good to go. 20 lines. Let's try this one because I typed this one, right? Let's try this one. Yeah. I'll run it here. Oops. Sorry? You spotted something? Ah, okay, sync grant, okay. Ah, missed one more line. This is what I want. New sync grant. Sync grant, I need two things, yeah? I need something, I need the, what do I need? Okay, the service ID, you're right, service ID. In the object format. In the object format. So service SID. All right, I think we got all things. What we're missing here is the ID. Now I'm going to get the ID, and this is where it's very important. So the first thing is the SID for the ID for this. So I'm going to copy this ID. Right. And I'm going to put it here. The next thing is the service ID. So we navigate back to the services, and this is the only service I have. So I'm going to copy this ID for the service, and I'm going to insert it here for the SID. I hope it works now. Finger crossed. Oops. No, it works. It's just waiting for message. So this is how I subscribe to the service. What I'm going to do is, okay, I don't need the note anymore. Right. So I actually prep the Postman, tested this before. So what we need to do is, I think this is a bit small, but let me explain. So this is the URL, how the URL works. Sync Twilio, let me zoom in this one so that we can see. All right. Twilio version 1 services, and that service ID, the list ID, and I'm going to post the items to this list, right? So the body of the message can be simple as this, text or whatever. So maybe we'll say, if I need the number, I collect the number and then I send this. So I send and the service will receive this. So basically, I'm not going to show the entire demo. This is the most important part, how to prepare the services, how to prepare the sync service. You can either use lists, documents, maps, or stream, right, for different purpose. So for this demo, I'm actually using sync this to add item. And now this code can be used to replace the Lambda service, or the microservices that I have to pick up the order, whenever there is an order going to the queue, it will pick up and then send the order to the display screen at the kitchen so that the chef can prepare the food. So the same service now can wait for another message when for the update, items updates, when the item is updated, to send the SMS out, right? So what we're going to do now, you all want to see how to code to add the sending a simple message? Is our time okay? 7:30. Okay, I think I better stop here. I think the other part is quite straightforward as well. Just basically, I think for the user group meetup, usually we don't go into a lot of details. The whole idea is to share the concept on how these things works. If you need more details on this, what you can do is you try it out yourself and reach out to us for help if you need any helps, right? So to help you try this out, you can go to console.twilio.com. You realize that you need a login. If you don't have login, you can go to twilio.com, try Twilio, and to sign up an account to try it out. The moment you sign up, I think you will get a credit of $15 USD, around that, for you to try. Yep. Just for today. Well, with that, I hope you like the sessions. Learn a little bit from my sharing here on how to use the Twilio sync for the decoupling your applications. All right, thank you. Thank you.
So keeping up with the messaging theme, up next we have Thor from Superbase, who will be building a Twilio bot with Headless.
Thank you. Thanks, AK.
Thank you.
I'll have my little origami.
We need this for the.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Oh. Who knows this guy? It's, who knows what's the hammer is called? The hammer has a name. Did you know that? Mjolnir, yes. Oh wait, Michael, did I break? Did I just? Oh, okay, clip. Very nice. Let's try that. And then I think I'll need. Oh, by the way, if you're out there, you can come in. I don't have any swag for you, but we'll have some fun with Telegram. Okay, one second. Display. I think I need to. Anyone remember how to do the mirror displays? Okay. And now everything is. Yeah. All right. We'll get there. Can you read that? Yep. Sweet. And I'm very pleased that we won't be needing this thing. Yes, very good. Close. Bye-bye. All right. I'm a big fan of Twilio. I've built some fun stuff with Twilio when I was living in Dublin. Our car park gate would open by calling. So you had to have your phone number registered, and then you would call the gate, and then it would open. Now, I didn't have a car, so I was like, okay, how can I rent out my parking spot on like a time basis, but I had to register one fixed phone number. And with Twilio, I could actually call programmatically with my own phone number, having it like authenticated or something. And then I built a system where basically I just had like an SMS, where basically I would generate a code for someone and they would send an SMS to like the Twilio phone number, and then the Twilio phone number, when the code was all right, would call pretending to be me, wanting to get into the car park, and the gate would open. It would work most of the times. Sometimes I was like in the US, and then they would call me like 2 a.m. and like, hey, the gate isn't opening. It's like, yeah, I don't know. let me check the logs, but yeah. So yeah, Twilio. That was Twilio. I actually built some intercom stuff here as well with Twilio, where in my condo, it actually calls your phone when someone is at the doorbell. And I had terrible reception when I was sitting on the toilet. And so when there was like the Grab driver coming, like delivering something, and I was on the toilet, it wouldn't work. And so I was like, okay, Twilio, do this thing, just open the gate. So yeah, Twilio, great. Anyway, I'm not actually working for Twilio, just a fan. I work for Superbase. Who here has heard of Superbase? I actually know a couple of folks working at Superbase. That's great. I made you come to this event tonight to make it look a bit fuller. But yes, so Superbase, cloud infrastructure based around kind of Postgres. There's a bunch of services. You get a database. You get authentication. You get storage. You get edge functions, which we're looking into today. And all of that is working together. So the nice thing is with the authentication, if you have a user logged in, you can write Postgres role-level security policies, which is a really powerful concept that is just built into Postgres core. And we're just kind of plugging that together with authentication. And it's very easy to then make sure you're only surfacing the data that actually the authenticated user is meant to see. And then authentication also works with storage. So if you have any file storage, any sort of unstructured data, drop that into storage. You can also write policies for that. And then with edge functions as well, authentication is built into that. So by default, actually, edge functions are only allowed to be executed with a valid JWT. But if you're having like webhook things, like with Telegram bots or with WhatsApp bots or what have you, you actually need webhooks, and they won't have a JWT. So when Telegram sends me an API request, I don't actually have a JWT. So I have a way to say, okay, don't verify the JWT for this function and things like that. Now, our edge functions are actually a little bit different. So they aren't standard Lambda functions or anything like that. So that's why they're called edge functions, because they're edgy. But no, so our edge functions actually run on Dino, I never know how to pronounce it. Dino, like the Dino. I do know, Dino, no. Okay. And it is a runtime for JavaScript and TypeScript. What we really like about it is it's open source. And so the great thing is, kind of supports TypeScript out of the box. That's great. Then also, no more NPM. You don't actually have to install anything. It's just all kind of out there, gets bundled together, runs really fast. And then we're partnering with Dino Deploy, which is actually really cool as well, Dino Deploy. And so they basically, take your Dino stuff and deploy it all over the world. So kind of on an edge network. So that's why they're called edge functions. And why am I not? I should be signed in. So yeah, there we are. I actually also have been playing around with the WhatsApp API. So that's an example I'm working on, which is pretty cool. And then you can, you can just write your Dino functions, deploy them to the edge. So what does the edge mean? It basically just means it's kind of on a bunch of servers all around the globe. And the nice thing is that basically based on where your user is, so if you have a user in Europe, then the function in Europe will be executed. And so you're kind of moving sort of this function execution closer to the user, which of course, your database might still be in a different place. And if your function has to talk to the database, then you're still having a bottleneck there. But you're moving a lot of the things like the authentication, the handshake, the establishment of the connection to the function closer to the user. So that's pretty nice there. And so we have, great thing about Superbase as well. It's fully open source. So, the whole stack actually, I think we have somewhere, we have documentation, which is good. So we have a little diagram here. And so you can see the foundation of it is Postgres, which, likely for 95% of applications that you're building will be a pretty good choice. And then on top of that, we have GoTrue for authentication. It's a project originally built by Netlify. Postgres actually auto-generates a REST API on top of Vue. So that's what the client libraries use to communicate with your data, and that what kind of makes that authentication piece and filtering the data and all of that possible. And then real-time is actually kind of what started sort of Superbase. It's a server written in Elixir, which works off a Postgres replication stream. And basically, as changes are made in the Postgres database, the replication stream goes through the real-time server, and the real-time server broadcasts this over the WebSockets. And then, storage and PG Meta is actually what sort of the dashboard uses to make kind of admin modifications sort of to the database. So that's also open source. Kind of the whole thing open source. And then, we use, where we can, we use open source projects. There's a lot of great open source stuff out there. And basically, we try to not reinvent the wheel, but rather use what's out there and proven and just kind of stitch it all together and contribute back to it. And so we have a bunch of Postgres engineers sort of making upstream changes into Postgres and, GoTrue and all of that. We have actually GoTrue engineer here. If you want to talk, if you have issues with auth, talk to Kangming there. But so the whole thing is open source. If you go to github.com/superbase/Superbase, that's kind of the main repository. And there's actually a bunch of examples in there. And there is some edge functions examples in there. And what we want to look at is the Telegram bot. So this is pretty much what it looks like. So that's the beauty of Dino. You basically, the way you import things is you just kind of import them from the internet. And so if you have things, you know, like open source software on the internet, they're probably out there. And this is actually, this is a great library called Grammy. Grammy. And Grammy is built, it's basically a framework, kind of like, you can think of it like Express for Telegram. So yeah, it has a decent amount of stars. This guy Knoppel-Senf, you can probably judge from the name, German guy. I got to chat with him a little bit on Telegram, and it was actually funny. I opened an issue when I was working on the WhatsApp. Yeah, it's closed now because, you know, if you say WhatsApp in the vicinity of people working on Telegram, yeah. I was like, hey, I love the developer experience for you know, Grammy. Grammy is like awesome. It's great. You know, any chance you might want to add the WhatsApp Cloud API? I was like, Grammy is a framework for Telegram. What do you mean? I was like, okay. And then this guy is like, and I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. So that's open source for you. No, but seriously, Grammy is a really nice framework, and it made working with the Telegram API really, really easy. And so let's actually take a look at that example. So what you can do is you basically just GitHub, you know the drill, you clone down, git clone the repository, and then I have that, you know, as a good chef. My last name is Chef, which in German means chief, but then in English, it's kind of in the kitchen. But like a good chef, I've prepared this for you. And so here we have our examples, and then we have our edge functions. And what's really cool, actually, VS Code, I'm a big fan of VS Code. Have you used code workspaces in VS Code? Who knows of code workspaces? It is really, really cool, actually. So let me open that. Let me zoom in a little. And so the thing you can do is with code workspaces, you can define different workspaces. So I have 3 workspaces here. I basically have my project root, so I can access sort of, you know, the stuff here, which is in the root folder, which is like my, oh, should I show you my .env file? Who wants to see? I'm actually prepared. So there is a really great extension by John Papa, great guy, built this extension called Gloak, which actually hides your env stuff. Brilliant if you're presenting anything. Brilliant extension. And then also I have like a example.env file, which is great, just kind of showing you sort of the environment variables we need. So that's kind of my project root. And then also I like to keep the project root because then I can access my edge, my code workspaces definition file, which is this. And so here I have a test client, which is actually just like a create React app, which I use to basically send requests to my functions, just to kind of have a bit of a front end to test that. And so then the thing is, you know, because this is React, you know, kind of normal JavaScript sort of node runtime, but then when we get to our, it's kind of the way you know it, React, but then with the Superbase functions, we actually now are running on Dino. And so for Dino, again, you have an extension in VS Code. But then when you're writing code for Dino, you want to enable kind of this Dino extension. And so by organizing things into code workspaces, you can have, the JavaScript prettier formatting and kind of all that working in, your one thing, and then you can have like your Dino stuff working in the other thing. Yeah, so let me actually show you here. So we have our bot, and so now you can see that, the awesome thing as well with Dino, because it's kind of TypeScript by default, you get like all your type definitions, all the like code completion, all the good stuff you get with TypeScript kind of built in. You never need to run any like npm install or anything. It's all just there. So Dino, sort of kind of the web platform. So you have the environment variables, all that. Then you just have a function called serve, to react to like incoming requests and things like that. And so basically, I'm just kind of setting up my Grammy framework here. I have two commands. I have my start, and I have my ping command. And then I'm basically just setting this up. And I'm doing something here where I just have, from my URL, basically, the webhook URL that I register, I just attach a query parameter called secret to make sure that, not some random guy who knows my function URL, probably Johnny in the company, he knows kind of all the URLs and would just send you some sneaky requests. So make sure that Johnny can't do that. You put some secret in there, and then you know that the request kind of coming from Telegram is actually coming from Telegram. And that's kind of it. So, just a little bit of JavaScript code in there. We can actually test this out if you want. Superbase example bot, so t.me. So let's do that. So yeah, what can this bot do? Just kind of an example. We'll do a start. So we have a start command, and then you remember if we look into our code here for the start command, I'm basically just replying welcome up and running, and then I have a ping and just a pong with kind of the current the date right now basically. And so this is pretty neat here actually, that you can specify sort of the commands that the bot has. And I just send a ping and a pong, and you can see this is like a pretty fast return. I mean, of course, there's not a lot of compute logic in there, but just considering that this is like webhook requests, somewhere kind of, it's actually pretty quick ping pong. Yeah, of course, if you then talk to the database and kind of need to do some stuff, it might get a bit slower, but that's pretty nice. And so, yeah, it's not very sophisticated. I didn't claim that. It is a Telegram bot. It does some things. What is, maybe let's look at how we can actually deploy this with Superbase. So the way you kind of deploy functions with Superbase is actually with the Superbase CLI. And you can actually also run the functions locally. So we can say Superbase. Actually, we first need to do Superbase start. So we cannot start. Okay. Because we need Docker. Now, it is a bunch of open source projects that interact with one another. And so we have kind of Dockerized containers that actually spin that up for you. Unfortunately, I restarted my laptop because the whole screen sharing thing, right? And so let's try this again. So Superbase starts up the Docker with your database, your authentication, everything. You can actually see, like if you have Docker desktop, you can see kind of the project being set up here. And so now we can see we have our like API, which is our Postgres well, actually, our API is kind of Kong, and then Kong routes to kind of all the different services, including like the Postgres API. You can actually, you guess here, like a local Superbase studio. You know, just kind of running local hosts, can do like your default project, can do a little like SQL editor in there, actually authentication, all of that. So it is pretty nice, the Superbase CLI. We actually have Bobby here as well, who's done a lot of work on the Superbase CLI. Yeah, that's also a nice secret about Superbase. A lot of the stuff is done here in Singapore, which is pretty sweet. I got pretty lucky. I was here, and then Superbase happened, and I was like, yes. So yeah, Singapore, good place to be. Okay, now 3 minutes left. Let's maybe deploy this thing. So we can say, you know, I mean, of course we can type this, but you know, let's just copy and paste. So Superbase functions deploy. You remember this. By default, we want to have a valid JWT to execute your function, but you can tell us, no, for this one, no verified JWT, and then the Telegram bot. Okay, let's fire this up. So we're fine. Oh, okay, so it's too fast. Well, it's pretty much deployed all around the world. Here we are, we're active. We can look at the logs. We can see Telegram bot up and running. We can look at the invocations. So if we go back, maybe playing a bit more ping, ping, and we go back, we can now see, well, you know, we have our real-time kind of logs. We can you see it? So, and we can actually see, oh, okay. So yeah, now you can impersonate the Telegram super secret, yes. But what's cool is you can actually see as well that the location of the function was Europe North. Now I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like to indicate that the Telegram API or server that is sort of sending the webhook request is somewhere. I think the main Telegram servers are actually in Dubai or the UAE somewhere. So that seems reasonably close, I guess, to Europe. Anyway, so for some reason, you can see that that was the server who reacted to it. We have a bunch more. Are people like using the Telegram bot right now? Is anyone playing with it? Yeah? I see someone nodding. That's good. Otherwise, we might be having some ghost requests here. But I think it would be interesting to see if there's, no, it seems to be always the same. Like if Telegram sort of uses different servers depending on where the user is located. But I think probably the webhook might not do that. But yeah, I think with that, you know, we're at time. We have 2 more fabulous speakers. But yeah, this is, you know, just some fun playing around, some functions on the edge, and yeah, do give it a try. It's all Superbase examples, all in there. And thanks, so good to see people in person. Thanks for showing up tonight. Cheers. Oh yeah, and I think actually then now I'm handing over to SK? Alfred? Oh, Alfred. From Duchybase. Duchybase, very new, but building some awesome front-end stuff, actually on top of Superbase. We're not paying them to do that. For some reason, they decided to to do it, and it is really cool. And he'll be looking at why you should be building some Notion-like interfaces.
Cool. Thanks, Doc.
Cheers.
All right, how do I put it?
Yeah, if you just put it on there.
Cool. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Alfred from Duchybase. That's Suikiat. We are co-founders of Duchybase. Like Tom mentioned, we are super early. We came out with this idea only 3 months ago. So what you've seen here is what we've built out in the last few months. Quick summary of Duchybase. Essentially, we want to help developers or non-developers build internal tools really quickly. And so if you think like your user admin dashboards, inventory management system, or custom CRM, we now support exclusively Superbase. So once you have a Superbase project, you can connect to Duchybase, and so set up your like dashboard within just a few minutes. Okay, but that's not the point of our talk today. What I'm trying to do here is to convince you why you should copy the Notion UI, and then CITYJS will kind of go through a bit of an implementation on how do you do some of the tricks in code. So let me start with a quick story. Like I mentioned, we started Duchybase just 3 months ago, so we left our job full-time earlier this year, wanting to start a company. We don't really know what we want to work on, and so we started interviewing a lot of different people. And a group of people that CITYJS interviewed were university students. Actually, one of them is just sitting right here as well. And something really cool we found is that almost all university students were using Notion, and they were using it to a huge extent. Like people have thousands of pages in their Notion. Some people are even paying for it. And like being poor university students myself previously, I don't pay for much stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see people willing to spend money on Notion. And then a few months ago, we were just looking around and we saw that there are more and more apps that are building on top of sort of like a Notion-like interface. So there's TypeDream, there are no-code website builder. You can build an entire website using like a Notion-like interface. There's Tally on the right. You can build a form using a Notion-like interface. And then there's Reflect, which is a note-taking app. And similarly, you can use like a Notion-like interface to add in templates, do shortcuts, and all that stuff. So being a marketer myself, I was like, okay, I need to look at the numbers. And so what's really interesting is Notion basically blew up in 2021. They grew 5 times to 20 million users in 2021. We're not sure what's the number in 2022, but even if they were to double this year, it's like 40 million users, and that's quite a big bunch. And what's more important is they have very engaged fans. So if you go to Facebook and search for like Notion, there are tons of self-initiated Facebook groups with 5-digit members. If you go to their subreddit, there's more than 200K members in there, which is way bigger than, say, like Figma or Canva, which are very popular tools. And so we started thinking, like, could it be that the next generation of builders and creators are growing up with like this Notion-like interface and expecting tools to have all this interface to help them easily build their product, website, and software, and all that. We thought about it for a long time, and eventually we decided to actually integrate that into our product. So what if you can build an entire admin dashboard or inventory management system using like a Notion-like interface? And so I'm just going to go through some of the interesting Notion interface that we have built into our product and where we're seeing in a lot of other products as well. The first one is a / command. I think the origin of this feature came from like IRC, if you're old enough to remember. And so the people who are supposedly quite old, I guess. That includes myself. Anyway, so to give an example, this Mailchimp, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Mailchimp. When you want to build like an email template in Mailchimp, what you have to do is to drag a component from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, click the component on the left, and then go back to the right to edit it, and then click save. And then do that like 10, 20 times if you want to build an email. And that just takes so much time. But with / command, in what you have in Notion, you can just type /image or even type /photos. They recognize that, and you can upload an image just easily within like a few seconds. And so it's really fast, and you don't have to memorize any like shortcuts. Nobody's going to remember Command-Shift-I or something just to add a new item. And like I mentioned, there's no dragging of blocks across the screen here and there. So this is the first one. And the second one is after you have added the blocks, Notion makes it really easy for you to kind of customize the layout of it. You can either drag it vertically up and down, or you can move it to the side to create multiple columns. Then this is great for 2 reasons, right? One, it's a lot more flexible than this. This is like a full column width. You can't have 2 columns. You can have 2 columns on Mailchimp, but you have to like redo the entire template. And then the second benefit is it's really tidy by default. If you have tried organizing an image in Google Docs, you know how terrible it can get. And so something I like to call this is like it's tidy or beautiful by default. people can't make an ugly Notion document. Like, it just looks really nice compared to this. And then finally, it's just very simple markdown formatting. I think all developers are familiar with that. So single hash for H1, double hash for H2, a few hyphens for dividers. Again, just really fast. You don't have to like click around. In the past, if you use Microsoft Word, you have to like select the text, go to the menu, choose fonts, and then change to H2 and all that stuff. With Markdown, you can just do it split second. And now, yeah, we'll jump into the cool stuff. Suki is going through some live demo of how to build all this Notion-like interface in Vue. So.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Am I supposed to hold it?
Yeah, you can click it here.
Okay. Okay. Give me a minute. So we're gonna actually build like a full Notion thing in what, 5 minutes? No, just kidding. We're basically cheated. So basically, it's basically like you watch those cooking shows and the chef just takes it out of the oven. And so here's who show of hands who uses Vue here? Yes, great. Okay, so if you're interested in a job, no. So if you're using Vue and we are looking for engineers, so come and find me after this. It's kind of hard to find Vue engineers, honestly. So I personally love Vue a lot, and this is what you see here is just a Vue playground. And to start off, it's actually pretty simple. I'm just gonna break it down here. So with Notion, essentially what we're working on is just like blocks of text, right? So we have like blocks here, and then each one is just like blocks of text. The first one is just like a H1 header, which is like the truth, and then you have like each paragraph is just a block of text. And let me just zoom in here. The actual HTML or the template code at the top is just, okay, so we're calling it Lotion. It's just for each block, we just render the block. Now let's take a look at what the block code looks like. So the block code just is just a div with actually just 2 parts. So one is the menu, and then the second is just the content. So the menu is something here. I've added some nifty CSS so that it only appears when you hover, just like the actual Notion. And then when you hover over the actual thing, then it shows like a background. And then the actual div that contains the content, we just fill like the HTML with just the value of whatever the block is. And just the final piece is just what the menu looks like. We have this SVG that shows this like 6 dots. And then we have like a list of different types of block types. So in here, for this demo, I'm just gonna show like text and H1. And if you click here, it actually shows up here. Okay, so what we already have is actually really simple so far, right? It's just divs, and then you get some clicks, and it passes the clicks along. And because I'm emitting, when I click on this thing, it actually emits like change to text or change to H1. And what we basically have in a block is that different types would have different like font size, font weight, and so on. So now you have something like that's basic, but we don't actually have a text editor, right? Because what we have here is just something that displays stuff. How do you actually change things? This is not editable. So any idea how we can do that easily? It's just one word. Yes, I heard something. Yes. Yes, could you say that louder? Yes, so we can do that right here. Return this content editable, and then suddenly this becomes editable. What? Yes, exactly. And the coolest thing about Chromium browsers is that we can even do like bold and italics, and then you just have to process it appropriately, later. But yes, so we have a bunch of cool stuff. But then we run into some problems, because if you're using something like Google Docs, one of the nice things is, so my cursor is here, and I've told Alfred this tons of times. So my cursor is right there, and I go down, so that's still fine, right? And I go down, that's still fine. But because we have like 2 different div blocks, when I hit down, anyone want to take a guess what happens? It goes to the right or it goes down? Yes, exactly. So that's the annoying as hell thing. So how do we fix that? Just another one line. Content editable. We just use that again. So that's so basically basically, what we do is everything is wrapped in this like div, right? And you make that whole thing content editable. And then, so I'm here, and I can start doing this. Ah, okay, very nice. Yes, so we're very close. We're very close to the actual Notion editor now. So, well, actually we're not, but okay. So, okay. So okay. So, but actually, we do get a problem here. So, because I've just made everything content editable, if you go into the menu, now this becomes content editable too. So I can just like type some shit, right? So, but the nice thing about content editable is even though the entire sort of block is content editable, what you can do is I can mark this block as content editable false. And then what happens is that my menu is no longer editable, but then everything still flows nicely between the content editable blocks. Yeah, so that's just another nifty trick for anyone who's intending to implement this themselves. And then the last thing is, the nice thing about Notion is you can drag stuff, right? And this doesn't work now. So what I have is, there is this really nice, if you're using Vue draggable next for Vue 3 users. If you're using React, there's this React Beautiful D&D thing. But what I'm going to do here is just going to copy this code that I already have. This is just me taking the chicken out of the oven. Give me a minute. Here, let's see. Okay, so that's it. So basically, we have this like draggable div, and then we define like different blocks. And then, now you can do this. Yes. Yes, round of applause for me. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so that was that 5 minutes? I think that was just a pretty quick overview of some of the small tricks. It's basically content editable. But here's the problem. If you try to put this, who uses Firefox here? Anyone? Yes. So I love Firefox. Yes, I love Firefox, and I actually started developing this on Firefox. So nobody told me about this content editable thing, and even when I tried it, it didn't work, because if you try this on Firefox, it's gonna break. So it does not work on Firefox. But what we have here, so this is a demo that we have built. So we actually open sourced Lotion. So from Duchybase, if you go to, wait, let me just do a little bit of a, how many stars do we have? So we released this we released this on Sunday. We've gotten about 165 stars so far. That's pretty good, right? So we've gotten a lot of like interested people. So it's entirely open source. If you try the demo, whoa, okay, I don't know how to use this new. Okay, so if you try the demo, this actually works on Firefox as well. So it's cross-browser. And we have a couple of other things like the menu. There are some bugs. So I can go like text, but I see, whoa, what did I just do? Let me just do another one so that I don't embarrass. Yes, see, it works. So, so basically we added also like nifty like keyboard shortcuts there. The other thing that is actually we didn't touch is, let's say you're at the end of the block and you wanna, when you hit enter, it actually shouldn't create like a new line. It should create like a new block. So we actually handle all of that as well. Here if you can see. And basically this entire project is open source. We released this over the weekend just for this event actually. So we've gotten some interesting traction. We might actually pivot to that. No, maybe not. We can't, until we can think of a way to monetize this then maybe. But otherwise, we actually like have it organized into blocks. So I just made that update today. Whoever's using like familiar with Vue, this would be a fun project to try out. So we're like really open for contributions. If you think that Notion kind of sucks and you want to build your own thing, we have like the code base ready here. If anyone wants to like take a stab at a React version, let me know. I'll be love to work together on that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it from me. So thank you. We do have a last slide, right? That's like the marketing one. This is a very fancy new browser, by the way. It's called Arc. This is by this company called the Browser Company, and they think that their main value prop is putting things on, like, on the site so that you can't find them properly. But yes. Yes, okay, so this is like basically our contact details. On Twitter, Alfred maintains our Duchybase account, it's pretty active. We're sharing an email because we are bootstrapped and it costs $8 a month. So we can afford only one for now. So yeah, so we have a Discord as well, check that out. And yeah, I think that's basically it. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Alfred and Sweetcat. I think we have one last speaker. We have Chuckit, who is from Storyblock.
It's Aris. Plug Chuckit in.
Play off the speaker.
Okay.
Yeah, just put it together.
It's gonna download quickly.
We'll get us shredded to pieces. Maybe we can try that.
Full screen.
Hello everyone, I hope you all are having a great time and enjoying the conference so far. I also hope that you like my talk today. So sorry for not being able to be there in person. I really wanted to be there, but there were some issues. Anyways, without wasting any further time, let's quickly move over to the presentation because this is going to be a very short talk and we have a lot to cover. Today, I'm here to talk about Jamstack and Headless. Why it is the best combination? We'll see what Jamstack is, we'll see what Headless is, along with the benefits of using them together. We'll also see some code on how to build scalable and flexible websites using Jamstack and Headless. Before we start, I want to introduce myself. My name is Chakit Arora. I am a full stack developer based here in India. I'm working as a developer relations engineer at Storyblock. I'm a Twitter space host as well as I am a technical content writer. I really like to write technical content on Twitter and a couple of blogging websites. My website is chakitarora.com. You can find me over there. And my Twitter is @AroraChakit. Alright, so let's start. Jamstack is awesome, and it really is. We all love JavaScript, right? And this is probably the reason why we all are here. And if you love JavaScript, there is no reason to hate Jamstack. It's even, I mean, it's obvious that you like Jamstack if you like JavaScript. In case if you're not familiar with Jamstack, Jamstack uses, Jamstack is an approach or an architecture that uses JavaScript APIs and markup to give us highly scalable and flexible websites. There are a few benefits as well. We'll cover them in a second. It works on two core principles that are pre-rendering and decoupling. So the more you decouple these things, the better the website is. And as I was mentioning about pre-rendering, there has to be some sort of pre-rendering involved to deliver the static pages over the website to make it more optimized and fast. Let's see a couple of benefits. As I was mentioning, the websites you build with Jamstack, following Jamstack, are more flexible. You have more flexibility because of the decoupled architecture. They are more scalable, again because of the decoupled architecture. They are more secure. The performance is increased. The performance is obviously increasing because we are delivering the static content. It's like we are pre-rendering a lot of we are pre-rendering a lot of markup in place, and we are delivering it in place. The developer experience has also improved, and this is my personal favorite because I'm a developer and I'm very fond of it. I really like when the developer experience is getting improved. Awesome. So let's now see what headless is. As the name says, chopping off the head, but not of a real human being, of course. I'll give you an example. I'm sure that we all have been using page builders or e-commerce builders, something like that, to build our websites, maybe a blog website, something like that. But at that time, those are the systems that are kind of monolithic, where we don't have a lot of control in our hand. And this is how somewhat the architecture of a monolithic CMS looks like. You have the admin panel where you're controlling how your website is going to look like. You have the database, and you even have the view layer integrated directly inside the monolithic CMS. So it's like the complete system, the complete architecture is tightly coupled. If you're trying to change one thing, the other thing has to be changed, and it's like completely dependent on each other. So it's like if you want to change one thing, the other thing has to be changed. The view layer, the view layer over here, which is the presentation layer, is also tightly coupled inside the CMS. So it's like you cannot have a lot of flexibility. You don't even know what you're using on your front end. You don't even know the stack, and you cannot design it according to yourself. There are some restrictions, a lot of restrictions, not some, but you cannot be completely flexible. And here comes the headless CMS. So as I was mentioning, chopping the head off, we chop the front end layer off from the headless CMS. So it's like you have the admin interface again, and you can use the APIs to communicate it, to retrieve the data, to communicate between the front end and with the CMS, and you can even have the custom integrations in place. So it's like one of your system is at one place and your front end is at the other place, and it's not coupled. It's like you can just use APIs to retrieve the data, and at this point you can use any of your front end frameworks, be it Vue.js, be it React.js, be it Angular, or whatever you'd like. It's not necessary to use any particular framework or any particular technology. You're free to choose any technology, whichever you'd like. This is even better because you can get this data delivered to any of your platforms, be it a mobile application, be it a smartwatch, be it maybe be it a kiosk, or maybe anywhere, be it a website. You can just store your content at one place, and then you can get it delivered using the APIs at any other place. So it's like you have the complete flexibility, and you can scale it very easily. Let's also see some of the benefits of headless CMS. So here are the benefits. I already kind of covered them, but here is the list. So as I was mentioning, it's platform independent. Your content is getting stored at one place. It won't matter what you're using on the front end. You can even change your frameworks. You can even mix your frameworks in case if you want to do that. And as I mentioned, you can even get your content delivered at any place with any framework. Omnichannel support is something which is very important nowadays because there are a lot of channels present, maybe a smartwatch or some sort of smart devices, where you want to deliver a good experience to the customer. So at that time, a headless CMS is something which you should definitely try. Code maintainability. Code is highly maintainable when you're using a headless CMS, and it is highly scalable because again, it is a headless structure. You can scale it however you would like. It is not something that if you're changing one thing, the other thing has to be changed. It can be the same thing it can be like you're changing something at any other part, and the other parts of your architecture are not going to be disturbed, so you can scale very easily. Today we are going to see the code of Next.js and Storyblock. Next.js being one of the most loved framework again in the Jamstack world for static site generation and everything, and Storyblock is Headless CMS. Let's also see what Storyblock is. Storyblock, as the definition says, I mean, I already told you it's the headless CMS, but as we say, it is the last headless CMS you'll ever need. This is we say this because there are a lot of features included with Storyblock. We have a unique visual editor that can be used to. You can use that to see how your website is looking before even going to the production. You can make live edits, and they're going to be. You can see how your website is going to look like in real time. You can add more and more of your components, and then you can work over there. And again, I mean, everything is going to be your own. I mean, it's going to be your own styling, your own code, but your content is going to be powered by Storyblock. So it's like you can use the visual editor to see to change the content, to change the stylings, and much more. We're going to see how the visual editor looks like in some time. Who can use Storyblock? This is a good question because Storyblock can be used by everyone and anyone. This is the reason why we say Storyblock is the last headless CMS you'll ever need. So let's see why it is useful for all of the people mentioned, all of the roles mentioned over here. So for developers, as Storyblock is a headless CMS, you can be as flexible as you'd like, and it comes along with a visual editor, so it is good for marketers and content editors. Marketers can even schedule their content, so it's like they can work on the marketing campaigns and stuff like that. Since it is with the visual editor, content editors can see how their content is looking before even going to the production. They can even make changes to the content, they can change the stylings and stuff, and much more. For developers, there is one more benefit, that is they can be as flexible as they would like because they can choose their own front-end stack. It's not necessary that they have to work with any specific stack. It's completely their choice because it's a headless structure. Even if you change something in the between, as I mentioned before, it's completely fine. It is also useful for the enterprises. This is because we have a lot of plugins available, a lot of e-commerce plugins as well, and the enterprises, they use they like the scalability part as well. You can scale Storyblock as much as you'd like, and you can even create your own integrations, and you can extend Storyblock as you would like. Alright, so enough of me talking. We'll soon move to the code, but before we do that, I'd like to show you how Storyblock works with React. This is the reason. The reason for showing this is because we will be using it with Next.js. So Next.js is a React-based framework. So it's like we have a library which we use with React and with Next.js. So that library is built with React. So we'll see how that works, and this is just like a 30-second video which I'm going to show you, and that's how easy it is to integrate Storyblock with React or any React-based framework. And that's it. I mean, that is the only thing which is required to configure Storyblock with Next.js as well, for which I'm going to show you the code. But before we see the code, let's also see how the visual editor looks and what are we going to build in the end. Let me just move my screen. Awesome. So this is how the visual editor looks, the visual editor which I was talking about. You can click over to the components. Storyblock follows the component based approach. So you can see that we have like kind of two components over here. One is the hero section and one is for the popular articles inside the home page. So you can see that if I click over here, the schema for that particular component gets opened up, and I can make live edits over here. So you can see how your content is going to look like before getting onto the production. So maybe I want to say like my tech vlog or something like that, and you can see that I can change the title, I can change the subtitle, I can change whatever I'd like to change. I can even play with the stylings. Maybe if I want to change the layout, I can do this, and this is again highly customizable, and it is all your code. Like this front end is coming directly from your React website, from my Next website right now. So it's like you can use as many as components you'd like to use. You can reorder anything if you'd like to. You can even copy paste, you can cut copy, you can drag up, and you can use this visual editor to see the changes of how the website is looking on, before even going to the production. And these components, as I'm mentioning, can be very complicated. Like for example, we have given the options of styling over here. So it's like you're going to get that this is the particular, the layout field has the layout field contains the layout name, which is layout 1 or layout 2, and you can render it accordingly on your front end. We'll see that in a while. Let's now move to the code, and let's also see how to create a component in Storyblock. We'll see the code first. So this is the code. This is my Next.js code, which is running on my local right now. You can see that this is the only thing which I have to do to configure the Storyblock with the Next app. So as I was mentioning, this is the library which we are using. With this library, I just have to do this thing. The live edits which we just saw in this page, like the lines which we are seeing to identify the components. The thing, like when we click on any of these, the schema for that component opens up, and you can just live edit those. They are configured by Storyblock JavaScript bridge. So we have like we have like a vanilla sort of library in place, so you can use that as well. But with React based frameworks or with any other frameworks as well, we have we have SDKs present for most of the frameworks, or we can say libraries present for most of the frameworks. So for React, we are using this one, and as I was mentioning, this is the only configuration that I had to do. You can even you can put your dynamic components over here. So these are the components that are going to be created in Storyblock as well as inside the Next app. And then once the components are created, we just need to register the components over here, and then those components can be rendered dynamically. Let's also see the slug.js file. So this is the slug.js file. This is here for catching all the routes. So for so wherever you go, this file is responsible for creating the page and generating the web page. So what we are doing over here is, this is a little of these are just the little Next.js things we are doing. We are fetching the links from Storyblock. So we are fetching all the links for which for all the pages we have. So right now we just have the home slug present, so we are just fetching the home page, and then we are once we fetch the links, we are fetching the props, like the data for that particular page, and then we are generating the static pages. So right now it's in development mode, so it's like always going to be working. One thing to show you over here is this Storyblock component. So what we're doing is, once we get the story, once we get the like for example the home story which we saw, once we get the data for that particular story, we just pass it inside a particular block. We just pass it as a prop inside this inside the Storyblock component, and the prop is called right now. You can use any name, but you can see that I'm passing it in the block prop. Let's now create a teaser component as well. Inside the Storyblock, let's register teaser component, which we already have in this Next app. So and also see let's also see how Storyblock looks and how this page looks. All right, so this is the Storyblock website. You can log in, and once you log in, you get onto this interface, onto this UI. This is the list of all your spaces. So you can see the list of all your spaces. You can mark them favorite. You can consider one space as content repository, as one content repository to be technical. But for this example, let's consider this list as a list of your projects. And right now, the code which we saw was for this one, the CITYJS local, which I have on my machine. So if I open this up, and if I go into the settings, inside the settings, if I go into the access tokens, you're going to see that this is the access token which I am using inside the app.js as well. So this is the access token which is getting hooked up with this particular Next.js project. So this is how we are using this particular access token for this project. Now if I go back into the components, into the content, now if I go into the home story, which we saw in the prod version, if we see it over here, this is how the home story looks. This is just the navigation bar and the footer. So if I go back to the slug.js file, you'll see that we already discussed about the Storyblock component, but it is wrapped inside the layout. So if I open up the layout, this is again we are having more components over here. So the layout is rendering the navigation bar and the footer and all of the things that are going to come between them. So this is how the layout looks, and inside the layout we are again rendering all of the components that are going to be there dynamically. So if I go over here, and this is again running on my local host. If I go over here, I don't know, let me do this. Yep. So if again, this is the same website which is we are seeing in the visual editor. So you can have multiple links in the visual editor as well. As I was mentioning, let's create a new component. That is the teaser component. So if if I want to add it, I can add it. So if I want to add it, I can add it over from here. If I go back into the block library, and let's create a new component, that is teaser component. This is going to be a nested block so that we can use it inside other pages. So for in this case the home page. So if I add this, now as soon as I add a block, I'll need to define the fields for that. So for this, let's just keep it simple. Let's just give it a headline. So let's say that the teaser component is just going to have the headline. Let's save it. Now if I go back to the content, I'll get the option inside the home story to add the teaser. If I add the teaser, you'll see that nothing is happening right now, the real editing thing which we saw. This is because we'll need to uncomment it. We'll need to register the component, and for that I've already created the component, but I'll need to uncomment that. So as soon as I uncomment it, it should render it. It should render it inside the visual editor. But also if I take you to the teaser component just to show you how the code looks like, as I was mentioning, this is just one of the easiest component to look at, because it is just one line template that is just rendering an h2, and you're gonna just render the headline which we're gonna get. So this is again the component is getting the block prop which we discussed earlier from the slug file, that inside the Storyblock component we are passing this block as a prop. Now once you receive that block, you're going to get the data. For example, in this case the headline, you can get the headline and you're going to render it. Now to make it editable, we are using the Storyblock editable function so that we can see the lines and we can click it as soon as the one we saw in the prod version. As soon as you click somewhere, you can get the schema open for that. So this Storyblock editable function is for that. And here are all my styling, so you can style the components. You can style all your components. You can style all your components however you'd like. The data is going to come from Storyblock, and that is going to be there. So this data is going to be dynamic, and the components rendering are going to be dynamic as well. The order is going to be dynamic as well. So you can create more and more components and render them accordingly. Now let's go back. We can already see that it is already pre-filled, but I want it to be something else. So you can make it a headline. You can say that you can fill in headline. You can even copy that. So for example, if I want to copy it and paste it to be maybe headline 2 or my blog website, something like this. And this is how, again, you can create a component inside Storyblock, and you can hook that up with your front end. You can make the components over there. You can register them, and this will enable the live editing, and you can make more and more components to make it more useful. For example, now if I go over here and if I create the hero section, right now again the hero section is not commented out, so it won't show us anything. But if I go back over here in the app.js, and if I uncomment the hero section, the hero component, the hero section is going to be visible over there. Let's also see how the hero section is looking inside the code. So this is a little more complex component than the teaser one, because it has multiple fields. So we have kind of 4 fields, one for the layout. We can decide the layout. So it is going to take layout 1 or layout 2. So for example, in this case, it's showing the layout 1. If in this case, if we get the layout 1, we're going to render this part. If we get the layout 2, we're going to render this part. In this manner, you can even play around with the stylings. We're also getting a lot of other data, for example, the title, the subtitle, and the image. And we are similarly rendering those things as well. So for example, I can put in the title, like my tech blog. In the subtitle, we can say that welcome to my blog. And inside the image, let's select one image. It is going to be there again in no time, and it is all rendering in real time. These 2 buttons are static inside the code which we saw. So we have nothing to do. We have nothing to change them over here, but these can be customized as well. So the way we saw the stylings to be changed, we can even change the button stylings. We can even make buttons as the components and so on. So this is how similarly you can create more and more components, and you can play around with drag and drop over here as well. So if I drag this over to the top, you'll see that this is on the top. If I go over to the home story again, and if I refresh it, you'll see that it'll just show us the 2 teasers. This is because before adding the hero section, I saved it once. So right now, whenever you are playing with anything, for example, if I copy it and paste it again, this is my website. Like, this is how my website is going to look like right now. Oops, I think there is some issue. with the layout. Let's wait for a second to see if it's working. Why is it not working? Oh, all right. It is working. My bad. All right. So yeah. This is how you can play around with the layout and everything. Right now we haven't saved anything. Right now we are just playing with the website in real time. That's why we don't see anything over here, because it is not taking your content to the draft version or the prod version unless and until you hit save or publish. Now, as soon as I hit save, and if I go back to the page, you'll see that this is what we get. I mean, this is what we get. The thing we get over here is the same thing which we were seeing on the visual editor. So this is how you can again make your own components and scale it again and again to a lot of components. And once your components are there, you can play around, you can move them around, you can copy them, you can paste them, and do a lot of more stuff. Let's now quickly move over to the prod version. So let me just go to the prod space. So this is the prod space. We were already playing with the prod space. If I go back and let me get something out of here. So this is my prod code. I'll just minimize a couple of things over here. So I can just minimize this, and I'll also minimize the presentation just to make more space. And let's have it in place. So this is my prod version over here. We also have this. I have also opened this up in the incognito tab. So this is the about page right now. Let's go to the home slug, and this is my home. This is my home slug, and you can see that this is my home page in the prod. So this is similar to that. In this case, even if I save anything, for example, maybe if I change the heading, for example, changed heading, something like this. Even if I change the heading and if I save it, it is not going to go onto the production. It is going to be in the draft. But if I refresh this, you're not going to see this, because this is my prod website and it has to be deployed again. Now here comes the power of Jamstack. We are building we are creating the static pages on build time. So we are delivering the static content over here. So once you are building your website, as soon as I hit publish over here, it is going to build my website. So let's hit publish. As soon as I hit publish, there is going to be there is a webhook deployed on my Vercel that is going to build this website, build this Next.js website, and it is going to get all the content on build time. So it's not like calling to the CMS again and again for the content. And it is again one of the best features of Jamstack, that it is building all the HTML and all the HTML in place and in build time. So if I again refresh it, let's give it a little time. It takes around 20 seconds to deploy. So yeah, you can see that it is deployed now. Similarly, you can create a lot of more pages. So for example, if I go back to the content, you'll see that there is this about page, which is over here. There is this blog articles, which are over here. So if I open this up, you'll see that these are the blog articles. This is one blog article, and you have like 3 of those. You can copy them, you can duplicate them. You can even see this home page has all of the articles which are going to be there, and all of these components are there in the front end. So as I'm creating a component in the Storyblock, I'm also creating these components in the code itself. So for example, this is how the article is rendering. You can see that I'm rendering the image over the top, then there is the title, then there is the subtitle, and then we are rendering the content. Similarly, we have this we have this popular articles. We are just getting all the articles and we are rendering those, and much more. Whichever component you're creating over here, whichever component you're creating over here has to be registered inside the front end code. And once it is registered, you can just dynamically render any of the things. So let's also see, like, if we have a page over here again, like this is just an empty page like we had over there. If I add anything over here, maybe like for example, let's say that this is the about page and I want to have a grid over here to have some features maybe. So let's say if I add one feature, I don't see any changes right now, probably because of the, just give me a second, we'll need to enable the bridge. Now if I go over here, looks like we have it in place. Nope. All right, it's there. All right, so I think my internet is not helping me out over here. Maybe some of the issues. So you can see that as soon as I render the feature is there, but like there is again no data, and this is again statically rendered. This is static. I mean, I have hard coded it somewhere in the feature. The read more should be there hard coded. So here is the read more, which is hard coded, and all the other things, for example, the image and the name are going to be put in from here. So for example, I can say that this is feature 1. I can give it an image, so I can add this image up. Then again, I can go over to the grid. I can copy this, I can paste this, again copy this, paste this. Maybe I want this to be feature 2 with an other image, something like that. Maybe this image, and for this maybe I want another image, which is this one. So all of the features are now with different images, and again I can play around with the features and everything. If I save again something over here, you'll see that if I go into the about page and if I refresh it, it's not there. And this is the deployed version. The about page is I mean, it doesn't show the data. This is because it is not published yet. And as I was mentioning before, the data has to be built on the, I mean, the pages are getting generated on the build time. So as soon as I hit publish, it is again going to fire the hook in my Vercel, and it should take around 10-15 seconds to show the data up. So let's hit refresh once, or maybe let's come over to this again in a second. All right, so yeah, I mean, we'll come over to that in a second. Let's give it a little time. So yeah, this is how I mean, this was most about my my presentation. This is how you can use Jamstack with headless approach, and this is how you can scale to a lot of pages, scale to a lot of components, and you can make your own components. You know, like you can take advantages of both Jamstack and Headless. Headless has its own advantages. Jamstack has its own advantages, and when you combine those, this is how easily you can scale up to make any of your websites or web apps. And this is how you can this is how you can be very flexible and scalable. Let's go back to the about page and hit refresh. Looks like we are there. So this is how again you'll see that this is how you can this is how we use the Jamstack's static building over here in place. So yeah, that was it from my side. Let's see if I have the presentation open. It should be somewhere here. Yep, this is the presentation. So yeah, that was it from my side. That was most of it from my side. I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope you are now familiar with what Jamstack and Headless is and how you can use those. One last thing to mention over here is this, that you can find the code for this particular blog website which we just saw at my GitHub. This is the link to that. And yep, this is something similar to what we have in our Next.js Ultimate tutorial series. So you can check that out on storyblock.com inside the next hub which we have. So yeah, that's it. It was amazing speaking over here, and it was super fun to present the talk. Have a great day and enjoy the conference.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We made it. Thanks to Thor for fixing the projector. We made it. Okay. Yes. Thanks to Michael. Okay. There are some stickers if you want to get. I'm going to bring the same stickers in the conference. So if you don't want to carry them because they are too heavy, just a sticker. And you can just leave them here. I will bring them there. We have to leave in 10 minutes. Before we leave, I don't know who wants to do a selfie. It's a really historic moment because it's the first one. Okay. No, but we can do it in front of the screen.
Maybe out there looks like there's more light.
Yeah, we can do it outside.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then